It's my pleasure to introduce the speaker. Unfortunately, I think that I don't know very well her. She is really the most reputed Portuguese scientist of today. She has a lot of hats. She is internally, she is the president of the Science and Engineering Committee at our National Science Foundation. She is also the director of the INNN Institute and of the CENIMAT. Internationally, she is also a member of Chief Scientific Advisor of the European Commission that will stay until 2021. And also, when I said that is a reputed one, is by the 4th consecutive year, she has been considered as one of the 20 most influenced humans in Portugal. And this year she will be again honored. And we are very proud that she belongs to our university, and she is also the vice rector of the university that I'm honored to belong, and she is responsible for the research activities inside the whole university. So let's hear Elvira Fortunato, please.
So thank you very much for your nice words. It's always a pleasure. Thank you also for coming, and I hope you are enjoying Materiais 2019. Also, I'm enjoying a lot, and since we have parallel sessions and so many nice presentations, also it is a pity for me to not see all the works. So I'm going to talk a little bit about metal oxides. Maybe for some of you, especially the guys from CENIMAT, you know very well this topic, but the others from the materials, the Portuguese Materials Society, they don't know. So I will talk about metal oxides, and also it's a family of materials that is full of potentialities, because besides the applications that I'm going to present to you today, also we can use this type of materials for many others. Just a briefly outline, I will start with a very short introduction. After that also I will talk a little bit about the prehistory of transparent electronics. After that I will put some attention on solution processes. Also these will be complemented by some talks from my colleagues from CENIMAT. Also I will present some results on thin film transistors, mainly using this solution approach, either for the semiconductor and also for the dielectric, and also I will end with some future perspectives. So, transparent electronics, it was really a dream that became reality, and also this was done some years ago, also with the help of my first advanced grant that I got in 2008, that was related exactly with this topic. Even the name, the acronym of the project was Invisible. So, in terms of the prehistory, this was one of our first presentations of transparent, fully transparent TFTs. This was presented, the laser is not, maybe the battery is, okay. This was presented in 2003 at a conference in Brazil. And here, since this was so new and so different from what we saw, even I took a picture from our equipment just to show to the attendees that this is really a working TFT made of oxides, all the layers, the electrodes, the dielectrics, and also the semiconductor. It was based at that time on zinc oxide. So also in the same year, two nice papers appears, one from John Wager from Oregon State University, and also another one from IDEO Ozono from Tokyo Institute of Technology, where they present the same approach. They publish also transistors, transparent transistors, but performed at very high temperatures. In the case of Professor Ozono, he needs to produce to crystallize the material at 900 degrees, while Professor Wager uses a post-annealing of around 600 degrees, which is, for example, not compatible with the use of polymer or even other substrates. And also in our case, this was done at room temperature, all the layers. So also after that, a nice paper appears. It was published on Nature. It was room temperature fabrication of transparent flexible thin films. And maybe this was the boom for the huge success of transparent electronics. And you will see where we can use this type of films and devices. And also this was quite fast, even only 2 years after at the European Materials Research Society, already some prototypes. We are not talking about discrete devices, but integrated TFTs in the form of matrices appear at that conference. And also more after that, in 2011, also it was presented at a fair, a huge screen from LG. I don't know where am I. This is a video. If you search at Google, and if you write transparent displays, this was a huge transparent displays that you can use for advertisements or whatever. And this is on 2011. So it is at that time a reality. Also, this was already presented by Rodrigo in the first day. So displays are quite important for us because they work like an interface. If we want to interface with something, usually the best way or the way that we like to do it is by using a display, an interface. And also this is quite important, for example, for the display area, especially for mobiles. For example, the first mobile phones were so big, and also now they are still so big. What happens with that? So if you take a look, the only difference depends on the display. And today's the mobile phones, the size of a mobile phone depends on the size of the display of these mobiles. So just to show you that displays are quite important. For example, this is a picture from Incheon Airport at South Korea, where we have not any more flat displays, but also we have curved displays, and we will be surrounded by displays everywhere. And also in terms of TFTs and some displays, even using LCDs, the liquid crystal displays, it is already available some brands that are using this type of technology. So instead of using thin film transistors made by amorphous silicon, they substitute this amorphous silicon, the semiconductor, by these metal oxides. And also we can use these materials to build the TFTs, not only for LCDs, but also for OLEDs. And especially for OLEDs, this is the new generation of displays. The LCDs concerning displays are dead, so it will not be used anymore. And in that case, we need to have current. The TFTs, they should power some high value of current, otherwise the display doesn't work. So these are some of the applications for these metal oxides and for this area. For example, here I present a table where we compare the different technologies available today, commercially available for oxides, amorphous silicon, the one that is still used, polycrystalline silicon, and also organics. And if we compare, for example, some of the main properties required for display application for a thin film transistor, and for example, if you take a look on the mobility, and the mobility is like a figure of merit. For example, if we want to compare a device made with a different material, usually the mobility is a property that we are looking for. And for oxides, we can reach values up to 100 square centimeters per volt per second. And for example, if we compare with the others, for example, amorphous silicon, the maximum value is around 1. So we can increase by 2 orders of magnitude the value of the electrical mobility. And also, for example, if we compare with the other technologies, for example, organics also, they don't offer a nice or a viable alternative. And also other things concerning the deposition temperature and also the other types of properties. For example, and this is possible, why? Because in fact we are using other materials. This is why this Congress and this is why material science is so important. And in fact, we are in the presence of a new class of electronic materials. This cartoon was proposed some years ago by John Wager. And in fact, like in a class, we have good students, not so good students, and also we can play a lot with copper oxide, zinc oxide, gallium oxide, tin oxide, and others. And also we can combine these different oxides, and we can exploit in the same material or in the same composite different properties by using a single material. And this is not possible, for example, if you are using a conventional covalent semiconductor like silicon. And this is possible with use of these metal oxides. So in terms of materials and also devices, they present a low cost, which is quite good. They are biocompatible, and also we are able to perform and to build some biosensors using this type of materials. They are recyclable. The technology that we are using for processing these materials are green, so we are not using high temperatures, we are not using toxic gases, so it's a green technology. And at the end, they present superior electrical performances. And sometimes this is quite difficult if we want to change or if we want to increase, for example, the performance of a specific product. Usually the cost at the end is higher, but here the cost is lower, and at the end we can achieve a higher electrical performance. So here are some examples, and this was quite fast in terms of from the laboratory to the industry. And today's the gallium, indium, zinc oxide is already adopted, is the semiconductor adopted by the industry. Of course, here we have the main advantages in terms of thin film transistors. We can have a high resolution, a high mobility, also a high on-off ratio, and also a high current. They show low power consumption and also low noise interference, especially if we are talking about the touchscreen displays. So, if you want to sell your product or your service to an industry, you need to take care about on three main properties. The first one is related with stability. And for example, here we perform some tests where we measure the different electrical characteristics. This is a typical IV characteristic of a thin film transistor, of a field effect device. And for example, here we measure the first one, but even if after 10 months, the device is quite stable. So the electrical performance is exactly the same. And also here the device, at that case, the device was passivated with a specific polymer. But as you know, this type of metal oxide, zinc oxide, and also based in other metal oxides, we use this type of materials for gas sensor applications because they interact a lot with the atmosphere and with some organics or some volatiles that we want to detect. So in that case, we are using the same materials, but if we use a proper passivation, they are quite stable. And also we perform some stress analysis, and over time, and as you can see, they are quite stable. The second one deals with reproducibility. We need to perform a device today, a device in 1 month, in 1 year, and they should present the same electrical performances. For example, here we present some results. This was also done within the help of an European project called ORAMA. And for example, here we have the same IV characteristic for 168 transistors, thin film transistors. And as you can see, or you cannot, the curves are coincident, which means that the devices that we are producing, they present the same electrical performances. So this is the second thing quite important, especially if you want to go to the industry or to sell your idea or your device to an industry. The third one deals with sustainability. Of course, if you are working with if you are performing or if you achieve a very nice result for a device, but if the materials that you are using are toxic or are quite expensive, this is difficult to send this or to translate this to the industry. For example, here, since the previous ones, as you saw, we are using indium and gallium, and we need to avoid the use of these materials. For example, nowadays we are working on other metal oxides like zinc and tin, a combination of zinc oxide and tin oxide. And for example, we process these materials at very low temperature, 180 degrees, and also we can achieve very nice electrical performances. Of course, in terms of the mobility is not so high, but also this depends on the type of application you are looking for. I used to say to my students, we don't have good or bad materials, good or bad devices. This is always, we need to know for what we are using or what is the target, what is the final application. As you know, the glue from the Post-its, it was a very bad experience for a strong glue. So here's an example of a display made here in Caparica. The backplane was made in our laboratory, and the integration with the OLED screen was done in Holland by TNO. And here is one of the first flexible OLED displays using this type of technology. But oxide TFTs are much more than only looking for the transparency. So we have other possibilities. And of course, since we are working and we are synthesizing, we are dealing with new materials, new semiconductors, we can also build other types of integrated circuits, not only TFTs or single transistors for a matrix, but also we can exploit these properties to build integrated circuits. For example, this is the case for some CMOS inverters produced on PEN foil, so they are flexible. Also other examples of CTO inverters and the 19-stage ring oscillator also on PEN foil, and also other types of circuits, especially for OLED integration. So we are not just dealing with TFTs, we are working on the use of new semiconductors for making integrated circuits, not only for display applications. Also another example, the differential amplifier based on ZTO TFTs, and so on. So, go towards high performance and low cost electronics with sustainable materials, is that possible? Of course it is. So, solution processed metal TFTs is considered as one of the most promising transistor technologies for future large area, low cost, flexible electronics. Because the ones that I presented until now, we use sputtering. We are mainly using sputtering techniques, physical techniques, to build all the layers. But also we believe that if we need to go, and for some applications we need to lower the cost, of course we cannot use, in some cases, a high cost technique like sputtering, vacuum and gases. So maybe one of the solutions is to use a chemistry-based, a solution approach. And of course we want to do this for all types of materials or semiconductors we need, for N-type semiconductors, P-type, for the dielectrics, and also for the transparent electrodes, because if we are targeting a fully transparent application, we need to produce all these materials in that way. So here, for example, I present the dependence, for example, for the last years. This is the tendency. For example, here we have the temperature as a function of the years for TFTs using different metal oxides. We don't care. But what is important to see here is that the first solution process, the first TFTs that have been produced using a solution approach, a chemistry-based approach, if you want, the temperatures needed were quite high, around 500 and even 600 degrees. But nowadays, for example, it is possible to use a very low final deposition. So we can use, as I mentioned before, polymeric or even paper substrates. This is the temperature process. And for example, if we plot the same devices, but instead of using the final deposition temperature, we plot again this mobility, this figure of merit, what you observe is that as the years are going on, and also we are refining the technology, we have an increase associated with electrical mobility. So we are decreasing the temperature of the process, and you are starting from solutions, and simultaneously we are increasing the mobility, which is quite good. Also in some cases, some questionable, but also it is possible to achieve values around 100 square centimeter per volt per second. And again, for example, if you compare these values with the morphosilicon, the ones that we are using in our displays, the mobility is 1, and they are using CVD and toxic gases. Also, now I will present you some results. I will start with the semiconductor, but only on solution process, because the sputtering was already done. For example, here some previous results on solution process. We tried to mimic what we have done using a physical approach, the sputtering technology. So we start with GZO by spin coating. The final temperature was 400 degrees, but we achieved the mobility of 5 square centimeter per volt per second. Of course, the temperature was still a little bit high. Here we have a cross-section of the TFT showing all the layers. And again, for example, the green layer here is the IGZO, the semiconductor, and as you can see, the scale is 200 nanometers. Even we are using low-cost materials, and also the amount of material that we are using is very, very small, just a few of nanometers. So more recently, and since we want to decrease the final temperature, besides the temperature, we use another approach that was followed by Tobin Marks at Northwestern University. And we use simultaneously with the heating process, we are using also a UV process. So it's a combustion synthesis, and the idea is always to try to reduce the final temperature. So this is quite easy. So we mixed metal nitrate with the fuel and the precursor solution, and just by heating we spin the solution on the substrate, and just by heating we will have our metal oxide thin film. So here some examples on ZTO using this process. As you can see, even after 14 months the devices are quite stable, and in that case they are not passivated, so they are not encapsulated. And since we are using a bottom gate configuration, the semiconductor is exposed to ambient conditions. Also here some examples of stress analysis, because we stress and we characterize the devices electrically, just to know how they work over time. And also more recently, in 2017, it was already presented by a company, a chemistry company, Evonik, a fully display where all the layers have been printed. So we are using this solution approach because at the end we want to print, we want to avoid the use of physical techniques, and they present here a fully display where all the layers for the devices were printed. So besides the semiconductor, also we perform some studies on the dielectric, because we want to use the same technology for all the layers. So I don't want to use for one layer a sputtering and for another layer a solution process. And also for the dielectric, here we start with the aluminum oxide. Again, here we have some examples of the IV characteristics. So here you can see the aluminum oxide is the blue layer, very, very thin. So this is 50 nanometers. And also the case where we combine aluminum oxide with ZTO TFTs. Of course, here we have some limitations still in terms of the mobility, but also we will saw in some of the next presentations from our group that already we can improve these values a lot. And again, some stress stability with the devices, and also more recently, by combining the combustion synthesis with the use of a UV radiation, because we need to avoid the heating process. So in order to balance or to compensate the heating process, we use another source of energy like UV radiation, and we are able to build the devices at 150 degrees, which is quite good, since we are able to use, for example, this on flexible substrates. So again, for example, we test in that case not only one single device, but 22 TFTs, and also they are quite good in terms of reproducibility, because also this is an issue when we are trying to compare physical technologies with chemistry technologies. Again, this was the same results where we deposit the TFTs over a flexible substrate. So also some examples for other devices where we combine we try to use other dielectrics, a combination with aluminum oxide, with hafnium oxide, always to try to improve the electrical performance, especially the electrical mobility and the on-off ratio. And just, I would like to finalize. I promise that I will use less time because I use my computer. So I would also to show you some future perspectives, not only in this area, but also in areas correlated. So future perspectives, as you know, I got another ERC, an advanced grant, and the idea here is always to try to minimize or to reduce the costs, but simultaneously try to improve the performance of the materials and the devices, because we work always, our target is in terms of devices. And so the idea is to use digital technologies like laser, and by using a solution process, we can simultaneously promote the chemical reactions using the energy of the laser source without using, for example, masks. So in that case, we don't need to use microelectronic processes because simultaneously we pattern with the laser the areas where we want to promote these chemical reactions. So we want to use this type of technology for different areas, displays, sensors, batteries, and so on. So here's just an example for some preliminary results where we are able to use, for example, we use a spinner, we spin the precursor for aluminum oxide, and by using a laser, a CO2 laser, we promote all the chemical reaction, and also we achieve very nice results. For example, this is the case for a capacitor based on aluminum oxide, and we have the comparison, the black curve using the conventional process with 200 degrees for 13 minutes, and the blue one using, and also this is not yet optimized, using a laser of CO2 during 1 minute. So other examples are on biosensors. For example, we can use and we can burn the surface of some materials like Kapton or other materials, and we can produce the graphene using a CO2 laser, and in a very easy way because we don't need to use masks. And also these devices are flexible. For some applications, flexibility is quite important. For example, this is a work that is in combination with Goretti and Rita. They are here, where we are able to produce these sensors for different applications. And also this was not invented by us, it was invented in 2014 by the Professor Tour in Rice University, and this is quite interesting because also we can produce the graphene out of wood. Do you imagine? Using a simple laser technology, and you can fabricate or produce the graphene, this fashion material, out of wood. And also other examples where we are using this type of technology not only for biosensors, but for other type of sensors, like for example UV sensors. This is the case where we can produce the electrodes just by patterning or burning the electrodes and transforming the surface of the polymer to a graphene layer, and simultaneously also you can use the same technology for growing, for example, zinc oxide. You are using a precursor and you will promote the appearance, the formation of the zinc oxide nanoparticles just using a CO2 laser. Other examples, for example, you can build a paper PCB. You can impregnate, for example, paper in silver nitrate. You pattern with the laser the silver nitrate, the areas where you want to have your electrodes. After that, you wash your paper. The silver nitrate that was not transformed to silver will be removed, and you will have a PCB on paper. So very, very simple. And also, just to finalize the main idea, and also this is not only related to our work, but also it's a little bit related to what is happening in terms of the computers and microprocessors. The idea here is, instead of using an integrated circuit where you need to have different devices and you need to integrate these devices to perform a function, what we want to do is to have a single device, and the single device is able to produce different functions. So instead of using an integrated circuit, you are using an integrated function. So this is a completely new thinking or a new idea. And this is only possible because you are using this type of materials, metal oxides. This is not possible, for example, using silicon. So the main advantages for this digital approach, of course, we have here, you have a comparison between the digital growing and the conventional growing process. Here, in that case, we have a direct synthesis of nanomaterials without further integration or assembling steps required, because we work a lot on nanoparticles, on nanostructures in solution process. But after that, we need to use these nanoparticles for making a device or for making something. How we will put the nanoparticles on top of the electrodes. So this is a huge step. So in that way, it's directly because you pattern with the laser exactly on the areas you need. It's extremely simple and inexpensive setup for device fabrication. There is a minimal usage of chemicals and energy for the nanomaterial synthesis in comparison, for example, with the other ones. And there is the formation of mechanically and electrical robust contact between interfaces, because since all the materials are physically very well connected, after the process they are already in contact. So this is quite easy, and you'll perform special because we are working with devices. You need always to have a low resistance associated to the electrodes and so on. So there is a huge advantages for this type of technology. Of course, this was already said. We thank our team, part of here. This is not our work, it's the work of them. So they are, thank you very much for working so hard at CENIMAT and I3N. And also we used to say, if we want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So we use this inside our laboratory, and we are also, they are, as you see, quite happy. Finally, I would like to acknowledge, because first we acknowledge to the team, to the persons, they are responsible, not the machines, not the laboratories. Of course, they are important, but first are the persons. If we are not good, if we are not motivated, you can have a Ferrari, a Rolls-Royce, but if you are not a good driver, you cannot go anywhere. So, of course, besides persons, we need to have some euros, and we are fighting always, we are running to the euros, and we would like to acknowledge, of course, the national funds from FCT and PT 2020, but of course the strong support is given by the European Commission, especially through the ERC grants and also the other European projects that we have done. Some of them have already finished, but still we have some European projects running, and this is quite important. And I guess I was finishing. So this grant started this January, so I'm still hiring some positions. So PhD students, postdocs are welcome. If you are interested to visiting also our laboratories or to work with us, be free to apply. So thank you very much. I guess I'm finished.